Recorded.
Yes, hello everybody. This is another XStepCafe session. Thanks for joining us, and I hand over to Uwe.
Hello, everybody. Today I would like to introduce you to one of our recent solutions. Oh, and I got the beep.
Yeah, I see it. Is that probably? Can everybody mute themselves and maybe that one here? Probably it's that one here. Okay, Uwe, continue.
Okay, so today I would like to talk about something that is related to the possibility to record the reasons for value changes in browser-based PI sheets and electronic work instructions. Okay, I'll just show you the agenda. So first of all, we'd like to talk about this main topic, give you a short introduction, tell you something about the motivation, the business background for this additional possibility that we would like to offer, and then the minor part would be then to talk about something that we just also shipped via SAP notes. This is the paragraph of miscellaneous and good to know. Okay, but let's talk about the first topic. What's the situation when recording reasons for value change may become important? So you all know that people that work with browser-based PI sheets and electronic work instructions, they are used to enter values in the input fields that you previously defined during the design time when you use XSteps or characteristic-based process instructions. And of course, for those of you who are working in the GMP or GXP environment, some of these values that the user enter are in GMP or GXP relevant. And situation might become a little bit more tricky if later during the business process and the processing of the PI sheet or work instruction, the user does change these values. So first he entered, let's say, a value in input field of about 12, and then he changed it afterwards to 13. And also such value changes are or can be GXP or GMP relevant. And there are some, let's say, some recommendations dealing with such changes of GXP relevant values later on. And they say, okay, when such a change is done, please, it's recommended to document the reason why this change occurred. Our current functional scope or functional possibilities of the browser-based PI sheet, they do not offer the possibility to record such reasons for value change. What you can define, and what most of you are also using, is when deviations come into play, when you expect that the value has, let's say, has to be entered within a distinct interval, and a user entered something different, then you can trigger the deviation and can also then record when you assign a digital signature to it, record the reason for this deviation in the command of a digital signature. But recording reasons for value change has a slightly different meaning, different flavor. And if you talk about how could such a solution be implemented, or would then we have to talk about, think about, let's say, the required functionality that we just label here as the basis, the basics. And during our initial discussions with some customers, so some friends and folks of you that approached us and said, okay, we need the possibility to record such reasons for value changes. We defined, or we first created a prototype just to get a good gut feeling about the efforts, about the technical possibilities and the feasibility of such an approach. And our initial approach, our prototype, it did not contain the possibility to differentiate between those input fields. So our prototype was, let's say, in this way, switch on the recording for of the reason for value change for every input field, and switch it off, or switch it off. And during discussions also with our PBPI consultants, they told us, think about the customers. Not every input field that is for which you do change the reason of which you do change a value later on, it might become not it might not be GXP relevant. So you don't need to say force the user to enter reason for value change. And therefore we define the first requirement saying so it should be possible for you in an easy way to define during definition of the input fields if such an input field requires the recording of a reason for value change or not. And because we implemented it for execution steps, this means we had to do some enhancements for the maintenance of XSteps. You will see this later on also in detail, and you will get a demo about this, live demo about this in one of our systems. Also, as a result of discussions we had so far, we thought about providing 3 options. So the default option for the input field, if you activate this functionality to record the reason for value change globally, then the default is that the recording of reason for value change is not required. So this means if you maintain your input field and you don't enter any value, reason for value change recording will not be triggered once you create the value of this input field at a point in time. Then, of course, the next possibility to trigger, to force the recording of the reason for value change is, let's say, this fixed value that you can select. It's abbreviated with an R, meaning you record the reason for value change. So anytime you change the input value that you entered before, the system will raise a pop-up allowing you to enter the reason for the value change. If you don't enter a reason for
what is the default value?
The default value means if you do XStep maintenance for input fields, the default value is blank.
Oh, sorry, I see. Yeah.
Okay, so it's blank.
Reasons not required.
Yeah. Okay, this means record.
If we switch to record, we need to change all of our XSteps. That is the consequence, right?
Yes. So we can also let's say think about if you would say somebody would like to do this generally to provide a report or something like that. But here you can really distinguish between if you needed this functionality or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can discuss this offline.
Okay, great.
Okay. And the next thing that came up also in discussion is some customers say, okay, for us it's enough just to record the reason for value change, also to complete then the value transfer. For others, it might be necessary also similar to the recording of deviations to say, okay, if such a reason for value change occurred and it's not our 100% case, then the recording of the reason for value change should be, let's say, confirmed or approved with the help of signatures. And therefore we decided also to offer this third fixed value abbreviated with an S. And if you just fill in S, the system will trigger a simple digital signature when you record the reason for value change. So after you enter the reason for value change, try to close the pop-up, then the system will trigger a digital signature process in the common way. And here you can also define if you want to have a multi-step approval. So similar to the confirmation of deviations, it is possible to define a signature strategy. So here in our example, in the screenshot, we have a cross-check, a signature strategy with 2 individual signatures. And only if the signature process that is then triggered when you record the reason for value change is completed successfully, also the value change is executed, and yeah, so that's it. With respect to the type of the digital signatures, similar to the digital signature strategies or the multi-step signatures processes that you use for deviations, we have a synchronous execution. This means once you trigger this multi-step signature process, the first individual signature has to signee has to sign, and then immediately the pop-up for signing of the following individual signature is triggered. So there's no possibility to, let's say, stop the process in between and to save, let's say, the sys or let's say the PI sheet in the status. Okay, we are just in approving the recording of the reason for a value change. This is not possible. This is also similar, let's say, exactly the way that how we handle deviations. So it's possible to do so, to use multi-step signature processes. Yeah, of course. You're fine to feel free to do this. Okay. So this was the, say, the more of the design time. Of course, it's not enough to just define that you want to record the reason for value change, but you have also to bring this information to the PI sheet. And here we already had then to, let's say, introduce two new PBPI characteristics for also handling, let's say, this information that you want to record either the reason for value change or the reason for value change with signatures. And of course, a second PBPI characteristic that includes the signature strategy. You will get more details in a couple of minutes about this, let's say, the general
Uwe?
here. Yes?
Just for clarification, does that also work for non-XStep PI sheets?
Currently not.
Yeah.
So in general, it would be, and it would be possible, but we, as I just told you that we also had to adjust the way how we create the control recipes and generate the PI sheet content. And,
okay, so just so that everybody knows, okay, it's really
yes,
only with
it's already mentioned in the how-to guide that I will talk about later on in a couple of minutes. So in general, it would be possible, but currently we do not support this option. Yeah. So we're just talking about XSteps and recording for reason of value change right now. So we had to introduce this new PBPI characteristics. Once you evaluate let's say you define the input field, and then you generate the corresponding control recipes. Those PBPI characteristics are automatically evaluated, and of course they then generate the content that is required for recording the reason for value change. I will just show you, let's say, how it works in the PI sheet. So it's a tiny little screenshot. We'll see this later on in a larger, let's say, enlarged and live in action. So once the PI sheet content is generated and you're going to maintain PI sheet content, once a user entered first, let's say, first value for this input field, nothing happens because it's the first time. But when he or she changed the content of this input field later on, like it can be seen here, so it's just a new star is born, was entered, let's say new star was entered and is born, was entered for the second time, then the system will trigger the raising of a pop-up, and the pop-up is quite, let's say, similar to those pop-ups that you get when you enter a comment. So it gets in the header that says, okay, this is the value change input of the change reason. Then you can type in the text and then close this pop-up after you type in the text. Then the value transfer of this change input field is also triggered, and you get also a recording of the data that is related to the reason for value change. Okay. There's also something that's worth to mention. With discussions in during our initial prototyping phase, when we try to let's say, enhance. Sorry, could you please mute? Thank you. When we try to enhance, when we try to record the content of the reason for value change in the event log. So perhaps you already know the event log functionality that can be activated for browser-based PI sheet and actual block instructions. But here it was not possible, also in the standard, to let's say bring up an icon or at least give you a very good identification point to check to see at let's say within a quick view which of those input fields are containing a reason for value changes or which not. And for this purpose, we also identified a new icon. You see this here. It's just like a document with a pencil or a pen. That is then automatically shown once you record a reason for value change. And of course, if you want to know the details of which point in time it was taken, who did the changes, so with respect to digital signatures, who did approve it, did they enter comments, and if yes, show us the comments. This data is also displayed via the context menu, and it's also part of the let's say an archiving style sheet that we use if you optically archive a PI sheet or work instruction via our standalone solution or via the electronic batch record. So you do not, you won't lose this information once you archive the PI sheet, which is important. Okay. Now, so just talk about the features and the functions and the necessary steps. It's quite simple at the first, let's say the first glance. We bundle the complete changes in an SAP node. It's the new one, 2409394. It's also, so you get we let's say convert this PowerPoint to PDF file, then you are able to directly jump into this SAP node. We just released it, so it can be downloaded and be applied to. So first of all, the current solution, it just supports XStep-based process instructions. It would be able to extend it to characteristic-based, but this would also mean some more changes that are related to the generation of the control recipe content. And we thought that this might be, say, a second step if requested, because the first possible consumers are using XStep-based process instruction, and as far as we, let's say, head for XStep-based process instructions in a couple of years, it may be, let's say, a good starting point for this. Okay. What is also important, the SAP node, itself it contains precise description what you have to do. Of course, if we introduce this new icon, you might guess that there are some changes with respect to the style sheets that you are using. I will talk about this at the end of the session. And we also wanted to improve the consumption of this new solution by providing a how-to guide that displays and shows you, let's say, the basic steps and how you can then maintain your XSteps and what the system behavior is expected after you activate the content of this SAP node. And we also provide an sample SXS building block. We'll see this SXS building block later in action that contains, let's say, some of the basic scenarios that for you to test the behavior when you define the reason for value changes for input fields. Okay, and so this is not the very nice part. If you use custom style sheets, you have to adjust them after you, let's say, implement the changes of this SAP node. But we try to really make it easier and much as easy for you to do the adjustments. So in the how-to guide, you find also a description which sections of the XSL style sheets are affected, and also the SAP standard style sheets. They're very enhanced. They're very enhanced, and they contain comments at those places in the style sheets where we did the enhancements. So it will be, let's say, with respect to the changes we did in the past, it will be quite more easier for you to identify those places. There are only a few of them, and also the statements we have to introduce are not that large, so it should be manageable. Okay. Second thing, we just talked about it. The input field definition then has to be adjusted. So currently we don't provide any automatism for this. Also not to, let's say, bias your current XStep definitions. And this is also up to, let's say, to the business, really also to you, and you. We know that also with respect to GXP relevancy of information, we let's say encounter different flavors at different companies. So here, this is also let's say something that has to be decided. Okay, which input fields you really require this recording for the reason for value change and which not. And if you say, okay, this input field, this information is really relevant, and I want to the user to enter this reason why he did the change, then he has to evaluate. Then you have to evaluate the fields reason required and also the signature strategy if you want to use a multi-step confirmation procedure for that. Okay, and then of course test it. It's also the thing that we did. Okay. Having really talked a lot about this, I would like to show you how it works in action. Okay. So let's go for an SAP system. First of all, I want just to show you the building block. I hope that you are able to see the XStep repository. I hope that the resolution is fine. The content of this this folder that we ship as an XML file was just imported into the system. It's an S/4HANA on-premise system, 1610, one of our support package correction systems. And the content of this building block, let's say, is also made up with 3 folders. First of all, we have, let's say, a tiny little folder, read me first, telling you, so just check if the simulation works. So, and here are some informations. If those of you that are familiar with our famous XStep library, they know such read-me first information. And this is something really that let's say gives you condensed information about the content of this folder, content of the sample data. Also, we then have 3 basic scenarios because also with respect to the style sheets, they are handled differently. You know, let's say the easiest way to define input fields is to define it as a so-called simple data request when you just define an input field. And for these input fields, we have test data that is also part of this second folder called test recording the reason. We have the group data request, which is let's say a bundled type of simple data requests that appear as a table, so that they are rendered as a table, but they are not repeated data requests. Some of you do already know, say, use this flavor. So there are also some changes in the style sheet sections that cover those group data requests that can be tested. And of course, tables are repeated data requests. They are also part of. We also have test data that is part of this folder. And also some, let's say, some basic information. That is, here it's part of the SAP node, and we have this folder say, attached as an XML file. You can really easily upload it. Okay, with respect to the testing data, we have those standard XSteps that you can reference. You'll see this later on in action. We have the simple data request, also various flavors. Let's just explore the content of this SXS. We have, let's say, blocks that define the reason for value change. Let's say this abbreviation R means that for this input fields, we have the recording of the reason for value change and process instructions, and here are the types of input field that we support. You will recognize that one input field that you can define is not supported. And this is the input field where you enter the digital signature, when you enter the signees. And for those input fields, when you do the digital signature, Crypto can show you. Let's say, okay, create an entry for the signature. It really doesn't make sense to record the reason for value change because it's an input field for the signature. But so we don't provide this option for this input fields. But if we, let's say, click to this input field where we just want to enter characters like a short text, you see this new let's say input this parameter appearing to record the reason for value change. So I will just go to the change mode and mention something really important. After you apply the correction of the SAP node and do all the changes, there's one additional step that is also described in the long text of the SAP node. The activation of this functionality requires the implementation, a custom implementation of a body. Similar to other, say, enhancements we ship with SAP nodes, our first goal is that system behavior does not change once you do, let's say, all the changes. So it means that you have to implement a, let's say, override a body method. It's quite an easy-going part, where then afterwards you are able to enter the reason for value change. So if you just implement the SAP node without doing any changes on the default implementation, then this input field will not appear. So which will look like it looked before. After you implement the custom body implementation, you will get this input field. You see here the reason required is called. If you just press the for help, you see the three distinct values. The default one, the space one, which means no reason required. You see the R for the reason required, and if I would choose S, just press enter, then you have the option to choose also a digital signature strategy that's available in the system. If you don't enter a signature strategy, then the system will take the settings that are defined in transaction EL03N, where you define the settings for the simple signatures. Also, due to the fact that the confirmation of a digital signature, we had to introduce an additional signature object for the signature application PI sheet, which is just called reason, but everything you really require for setting up this this setup is described in the SAP node. Okay, we'll see this later how it works in action. Okay, so these are, let's say, some simple data requests. For the group data request, I can just show you, for those that are not familiar, how those group data requests are interpreted. So group data request, you have a couple of process instructions that are quite similar with respect to the content that is bundled to them. So you see these exact copies. We can also we have input fields in the sequence, also in the number of the input fields is properly done. And if the system detects such process instructions that are of type simple data request, it will then combine them automatically to a group data request and will display the content of those group data requests as a table. Yeah, so most of you might be familiar with this functionality. And the third one, where we have this sample data, is also the repeated data request. The table display, like it is also defined here. You can see. I think here it's a kind of a repeated data request with a minimum of lines of 3. Okay, so and there's another tool that we also use when we did our testing. I told you that we had that we enhanced some style sheets. So we have enhancements on the style sheets for the dialog. This means this is the information that you get when you execute the context menu to display the properties of process instruction in the PI sheet, properties of an input field, and if you want to display comments. So these dialog style sheets are enhanced to support also the output of the reason data. And of course we have the extension of the standard style sheets that we ship for browser-based PI sheets and electronic work instructions, and also the extended ones that some of you might use if you have activated the business function that we shipped with enhancement package 3 that allows, let's say, better performance of the PI sheet when all those faces are collapsed during loading, and when you also see some additional icons in the face trace. So these style sheets are also enhanced. Okay. And to check also the archiving style sheets, this are the style sheets that we also had to enhance. For our demo, we just use a function module that was prepared before. Some of you already have stumbled across it. It's this POC print print sheet in EBR style. We'll see this later on in action. So it just then shows you the contents of the data XML that is belonging to the PI sheet in the layout of the in the archiving layout that is defined too. So this will also ease testing. So you immediately will get a good gut feeling about the changes, how let's say the layout looks let's say basically looks like when you archive the PI sheet as part of the EBR or using the optical archiving transaction in the SAP standard. But of course, due to the fact that we show the content in the pop-ups, say some things might look a little bit squeezed. But it's for demo purposes or first testing purposes, it's quite fine. Okay, then I will just show how it looks like. Of course, you can, like I showed you in the XStep repository, those changes with respect to the input fields, you can do those changes in the XStep editor of the master recipes, of the standard routings and the reference operation sets, of course, and in the manufacturing orders, XStep editors. So for our purpose, I just created a process order, and this process order, reset delete the generation and reset the references. Here in our process order, I did some adjustments. So here I just referenced the SXS reference nodes from our test data and just assigned it to a phase. I did not assign it to generation scope for phases, just to keep the PI sheets, let's say, tiny enough so you can see the change on. And I did also one thing that is currently not part of the testing content for the SXS building block, and this is the combination of multi-step signature processes with a recording the reason for value change. Because if we define, let's say, a signature strategy in our transaction L sign 00, we currently do not ship it, and also cannot extract it in a way so that you can upload and use it in your systems. Therefore, we'll just show you how this content is then to be defined, but it's also not something that you would really call rocket science. Okay, if you just double click on this, if you want to add a remark, this is something that you see later on the PI sheet. We have a characteristic that is evaluated, the PPPI node. We just evaluated this record the reason for value change with S. It means that I expect that I have to confirm the reason for value change with signature, with a digital signature. And in addition, I chose a cross-check digital signature that then should be also triggered and executed. And to make the things really nasty, I had defined a scenario where you have a combination of something where you also might stumble across. If you define a deviation, let's say the handling of a deviation, an input validation, it's just a simple one, and you want also that the user confirms this deviation with a digital signature, and it's also possible for you to define the reason for value change. Yeah. That was also some of the most trickiest part that we had to program, because in this case you will also have to consider the scenarios once a user does, let's say, a signature process is cancelled, the first signature process that is related to the recording of the reason for value change, and of course the signature process that is then cancelled when you record the deviation. Yeah. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Now I'm just going to generate a test control recipe. So everything went fine. Something that's worth to mention, just try to do the check. So this is the process instruction that is not of that interest. I just want to Perhaps have a look at this one. And when you define, at the moment you define the reason for value change for this input field in the exit definition, the system will automatically add this characteristic, this new one, PPPR reason for value change required. And this characteristic is just also, let's say, contains the information that you require the reason for value change, or that you require the reason for value change with signatures. We don't, sorry, oops. We don't, I don't know when this happened. We don't create this characteristic when you just say, okay, leave it as it is. We don't want to record any reason for value change. So this does not make any trouble. And of course, now let's check what happens. Okay, we extended also the syntax check to prevent that if you let's say define a digital signature to record the reason for value change and change this reason for value change rec to only a reason required, then this would be an inconsistency, and we enhance the so-called semantic check to detect such inconsistencies. And of course, if you want to create a control recipe, then the system will also raise a corresponding error message, and with a message long text that tells you what is the cause of the error and what you can do to just eliminate this error. So also we'll just have a, perhaps I can have a look at this one. And here you see later on, I just want to point you to this part. Here we have this input field for the PPPI node, for the remark. We have the label of this input field. Then we have, of course, the new characteristic that say, okay, we need a reason with signatures. And if I enter a signature strategy, then a second characteristic is used that is called PPPR reason signed strat. Means here we store the information about the signature strategy that is then it has to be triggered. Okay. So now let's save it. Usual way. Tested it before. So just send it. We can also check the logs. Send log. So everything really should look proper. So, and then check how the test PI sheet looks like. And also with respect to the work list, so this is the CO60 or CO60XT for both work lists. We also did an enhancement. So the first time, if you have a PI sheet or electronic work instructions that contains a reason for value change, then this information is indicated in the work list for the work instructions. You know, similar columns that are populated if you have recorded deviations, if you have recorded commands, and also if process messages are existing for the PI sheet. And after our solution, or the correction instructions are implemented and the body is activated, this additional column appears. So this was a sample data that I maintained before. So it now got the indicator, and you see also there's a tooltip text that tells you, okay, the reason for value change exists. But we want to do it from scratch, and now I just want to maintain it. This is PI sheet that's used our default style sheet. It's not the extended one. There are also some screenshots in the how-to guide that show you how the additional features of the extended style sheet that was shipped with enhancement package 3 look like. And so we also populate an indicator in the phase tray when the content of the phase contains input fields that have recorded reason for value changes, which then makes it also easier for you to identify those things. Okay, then let's go first and try to type in a long text. Okay, just type in a long text, press enter, nothing happens because it was the first time. And oh, I got sticky fingers and got a typo. And now if I press the enter key again, then I change the value. And here the pop-up appears. You see there's the header telling you input of the change reason. If I do not enter anything and just press OK, then the system will give an error message. I will display an error message telling you, sorry, but you have entered no reason for value change. So this is in our sample fallback implementation. It's just a simple check. So if nothing is entered in here, then the system will erase an error and prevent also the storing and the saving of this changed value. We also provided a body method that allows you to execute a more, let's say, intelligent check of the content that the command that the user enters as a change reason. So then you can also, let's say, do some, if you expect some keywords that the user has to enter or some phrases, then you can also check for this. But in, let's say, our standard fallback implementation, we don't execute this additional check. So just say I made a typo, and then say yes. And what you might have recognized that a new icon automatically appeared, which tells you here a reason for value change was recorded. So now if I just press the left mouse button for calling the context menu, then you see also here the properties for this item, and also automatically you will get this tab strip that tells you, okay, this is the date, this is the time, this is the SAP user, this is the full name of the SAP user, so it's my name, this is the reason, and the reason is that the value that was changed is now my long text, and the reason that I entered is named here as the reason for value change. I made a typo. So this is one way where you can access this information. At the point in time when you create a reason for value change, or when it's recorded, the corresponding context menu, it contains this command which says display reasons, which is to show you the difference compared with the other long text input fields. And if you click on this, then we get the same situation. You might also be familiar with, let's say, those properties, tab strip. So we just did an enhancement for this reason for value change here. If you go to this input field below, that also has a recording for value change possibility, and you click on the context menu, you see there is no command, because you don't record for displaying the reason for value change, because you don't enter, you did not enter a reason for value change. I haven't entered such just before. Okay. We also had a discussion also with, let's say, the interpretation. When do we really have a value change? Say that the first basic setting is, or basic idea is, you input, you override say, value of an input field that was, let's say, has a different value before. But there's also, let's say, another flavor, and this is the flavor for those, let's say, fields. Here we have default values, and in general you would just put enter and press enter to take it over. But if somebody think, okay, I would not like to have this input field, and I change this valuation, then this is also interpreted as a value change for the input reason. So, okay. And this is something that, let's see, the second scenario here, I said, please sign the reason for value change. Now I want to show you some of the features. One feature is you can see the reason for value change added one day. This is exactly how I entered it. I can also enter a comment saying, okay, it was late last. Okay. And then, of course, enter my and you see the signature process was successfully completed by me, and the reason for value change icon directly appeared. If I click on this, you get also the information that I showed before, the date, the time, the username, and also because I did a digital signature, we have a let's say this additional term saying confirmation of the value change, the date when I did the signature, and my, say the SAP username, my full username, and I click on this command. And okay, you see, it was really late last night. Okay, if we do, I will just demo in a couple of seconds this cross-check part. Then you will also see how it looks like if you have a multi-step signature. So now it comes to the interesting part. How does this look like in the archiving style sheet? When I click on this function, this button, the function module is raised. You see at the header, a new part, which is also in the standard style sheet meant reason for value change. Why don't you see anything, any entry here? Because let's say this functionality and the function module, it just evaluates the data XML. And because we have an adjustment of the data XML, but we did not store it, so it's if you work with let's say the content of the EBR, then it uses the data XML. Then I will just save it, so the data XML is updated, and then we have a quick glimpse how it looks like in the archiving style sheet. So don't let's say be a little bit scared about, let's say, the screen size, because it's just a pop-up. We will not see it in full bloom. One thing that you might have recognized, we have now a list. I recorded 2 reasons for value changes. We have say an overview list that tells you, okay, this is the face, this is the short text of the face, nothing added here. The process instruction characteristics, process instruction, and now the really nice thing is I can directly navigate to the reason for value change. So I clicked on the hyperlink. It opens a new tray that is called reason history, and you see all the information that I just entered. If I would record more than one reason of value change, then you will also see those entries down below. It's similar to the logic that we use for showing the history of deviations. So no information gets lost. Okay. Just to demonstrate, if I click on the second link, it also directly navigates me to the fields, to this date field, and here also we get the information. Okay, I added the reason for value change, added 1 day, and here we have also additional information showing us the signature information. So SAP user did this, named full user Uwe did this. He or she did the signature and added a comment that it was late last night. So similar to the things that you're used to have. Was not really the big deal. Something that I would like also to show you, because it's something that we don't have in this simple style sheet, in the archiving style sheet. Here we have the face tray. This icon is shown in the face tray once one of the process instructions below, let's say, contains the reason, or contains the input field that has a recorded reason for value change. So it really should make life quite easy. So I'm trying to hurry up a little bit. Just want to show you the last example for the cross-check. So let's enter. Change the value. So that's it. And here the digital signature process is triggered. Multi-step. We'll use another worker. Let he or she tell him from quality assurance, checking is okay. Okay. Confirm it now. You've seen this, the first individual signature was successfully executed by worker 1. Now I use my signee. And alter the command. For me. Okay. So it was successfully completed. You see this icon, reason for value change. Click on it. The confirmation of value change now contains 2 entries, because I had a cross-check digital signature. Also here the SAP username, the full username, and the command that was entered during creation of the digital signature, individual signature. And if we save it and check the display archiving style, you see the third entry appeared. If I click on this, you have also the recent history, and you see also the information that is belonging to the worker and to my signature. Okay, got a nice typo here. Yeah. And also here the indicator of the face that the reason for value change has appeared. Okay, this was really a quick walkthrough. I just want to, perhaps in the next XStepCafe, if somebody wants, I can tell you a little bit more about, let's say, the basic technology that's behind it, and then also the reason why we did not follow the initial approach to extend the event log. So okay, I would then just give you just continue with two three things before. Otherwise, let's then the first steps. If you have some questions, then please feel free to ask now. Okay.
You might need to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
If you have pressed *6 at the beginning.
Or the demo was so self-explained that everybody is pleased or said, okay, what a mess. Hope that this is not the case. Yeah.
It was a clear presentation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does something happen if I only implement the subnode and do nothing else?
If you just implement the SAP node, so the description of the SAP node just tells you that to activate let's say the functionality, you have to implement a body. Perhaps I can show you how this looks like. So it's more for the technical folks. Sorry.
But the question was whether it does anything at all, and
no,
nothing.
The answer is no. I will just briefly show it.
Okay, that was my question. If we can only implement the subnode and then try a little bit something.
Yes, yeah, you can. But also if you want to try it out, I can just show you. This is the custom body implementation. That is an implementation that inherits from the sample fallback implementation that we ship. Yeah, it's this is. Yeah.
Is it possible to restrict the body implementation to a certain control recipe destination or something like that, or is it just all or nothing?
So here we so the body is just say activates the possibility that you maintain those reasons for value change in the XSteps.
Okay, so it's all or nothing. Okay.
So it's all or nothing. All or nothing means the field appears, but if somebody really doesn't enter anything in this input field, then he won't see anything. So nothing really also does change if you. So it doesn't change from system logic if you activate or override this one method that activates this functionality. Once you do not evaluate this additional input fields in the XStep definition for the input fields that allow you to say now record the reason for value change. So for the user, if you activate this functionality, the user might recognize when they do the XStep maintenance that the new input field for recording reason for value change, for defining it, appears. But if they don't fill in anything, let's say it's independent from this part. Yeah. So hope that this is comfortable enough at the beginning. If you have a look at the node, there are a lot of things that are, as I said, the content of the node is not a small one. We do have only 2 dependent nodes as prerequisites, which really makes sense. I think 2 of them, one of them is related to also recording of deviations, which was an important correction, and another one is also related to the fact to delete digital signatures that belong to PI sheet and electronic work instructions once you delete the corresponding PI sheet or work instruction. So these are the prerequisites. The manual changes are, I think, also described in detail and not that huge, but of course, they say no lunch for free. You have to do some things, and also there's a description how to upload and upload the change standard style sheets. We also provide those standard style sheets that contain those changes that are necessary to say make those to handle this reason for value change and display the icons in this new icon. Also the let's say the GIF file that has to be checked into the web repository that is used for this new icon is also part of this content. So perhaps I can just
I do have. This is Sue. Hi.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, I have one quick question. You did this example in the production order. Are there any restrictions for process orders?
So it was a process order. It was.
I thought you were in CO0.
Yeah, it was COR1. So it was a process order, but so it works for both. So we implemented it for both.
Okay, and you did it on a collective order, I believe, right? Was that a collective order you created?
It was just a simple one, but I think this should also. So it's if you maintain access for those collective orders, it should not be any different. So it really works for both parts, for the discrete ones and for the, let's say, for the batch-oriented production ones. So it's available for, and as I told before, it's you can also define it in those if you're working with process orders in the corresponding master recipes. If you're working with production orders, you can define it in the routings and also in the standard routings and reference operation sets if you would like to do this.
Okay.
And of course, in the XStep repository and the standard XSteps. So,
correct. Okay. Thank
you.
Okay. If we have time, I have one totally unrelated question to this topic. Let me know if we have time.
Yeah, of course. If it's okay for Anna, we'll go for overtime.
Okay. Well, it's just about, I've joined the Influence Council for the MES solution for process industry. Are you guys aware of that?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay, and is that going to be something new other than XSteps, or is it going to incorporate XSteps, or is it going to be more like the ME system? Do you have any idea what they're thinking of in that Influence Council?
I think they're thinking in various directions.
Okay.
But they say we also have. I'm also able to contribute to this Influence Council, at least to the.
Good.
My voice is heard a little bit when the SP folks come into the game, and also the voice of our consultants that also implement the XStep based solution. It's so currently they're talking about really what might be possible. We also have a general discussion about let's say future of what we call process management. Currently, you can use it also XSteps in our S4HANA systems, but there are some technical restrictions with respect to SAP Fiori, and so we have ongoing discussions. What will be the basis for such new solutions? And so I cannot mention anything, let's say, right in here because this has to be aligned internally. But we know that a lot of customers would like also to see that your investments also in those XSteps and the corresponding master data is protected and can be also used if you do a migration. So this is quite clear. But we're just talking, I think, about we have to do some negotiations and discussions about how the best way forward would be. Okay?
Good. I'm glad you're involved. Good. Yes, it does. I just wanted to make sure you guys were involved, and I'm looking forward to the meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Perhaps just for Arne, we can just complete the recording. Also for those that are just joining in the call, there are some notes that I would like to mention. We have 2 pilot notes that we converted to standard notes, And you saw also this new context menu in action. And the new context menu is a JavaScript-based context menu that replaces the obsolete ActiveX control. You might know that once you want to use this context menu in the PI sheets or work instructions, you have to download this IMNU OCX control, which is not available anymore at the Microsoft site. And a colleague of us who was able to completely replace this solution against a JavaScript-based one, which has really some advantages. And you already saw the new command adding this, showing the reason for value change. It automatically was added to this context menu, so it really works fine. A good, robust solution that some of you also use as pilot customers. And combined with that, there's also the possibility with this second node here to restrict that some users can use this context menu on browser-based PI sheet. This was also some, say, pilot node that was added to this new context menu solution, which also really works fine and stable. And for those of you, we have some discussions and also some requests. How does the digital signature tool functionality works within SAP Fiori and SAP UI5? There are currently some constraints that prevent to use the digital signature tool in SAP Fiori and SAP UI5, and they are explained in more detail in this SAP note. But there are also some discussions ongoing how SAP can provide such a say a compatible or say comparable functionality in for SAP Fiori and SAP UI5 to allow you to execute those user dialogues for signing in documents and digital data. And there's also an FAQ note that deals with the topic how browser-based PI sheets and analytical record structures can be used on mobile devices. Of course, we are not compatible to SAP Fiori and SAP UI5, but there are other possibilities to have a setup to allow you to use it on mobile devices, and it contains some of the basic steps and basic findings that that we have and that other customers reported how this can be set up. And one last note. There's a possibility to define an overall profile for electronic batch records. The old solution, I think that I developed it more than 10 years ago, had some disadvantages that you have to switch off foreign key check in one of our SAP standard screens, which is not that nice, and we were able also to replace this SAP node and this functionality against one that is also based on a body that you can also extend, and this body also allows you to define those overall profiles also for material groups instead of defining the EBR profiles, document profiles, deviation profiles for each material that you want to use or want to provide with an own profile in the EBR. So this is the end of my slideshow. I hope you enjoyed it. And please,
thanks, Uwe. Yeah, great presentation.
Yes, thank you.
I hope nobody has a present question left because I need to go. Okay. So
otherwise, then just you can say it's possible to ask this question in the G+ community. Then I can also provide an answer to it.
Yeah. Okay. Then have a nice day to you all, and till next time. Bye.
Yeah. Happy Easter. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.